So when did the potential for the Olympics become a reality for you? Because obviously any sport that you have the propensity to get to the Olympics in, there'll always be that back of the head, oh, maybe I could do it if you're in a sport that can get there. But for you, when did that dream start to become a pathway?
Yeah, I was very fortunate in the fact that when I started Olympic weightlifting, I was coached by someone who had been to the Olympic Games. And I think that plays such a huge factor in anyone's career as a sporting athlete. You know, to be exposed to someone who's already achieved what you want to achieve at such an early start or so early on in my career made me be able to see right in front of me what I wanted was achievable. And a lot of the time when I think people aspire to great heights in any sporting venture, it can seem like a dream if you're doing something that you don't know anyone else that's done it. Whereas for me, because I was exposed to that, it made it a reality from a very young age. You know, I remember my coach turning around to me within the first year and said, look, the best things, the two things that you can achieve as a British Olympic weightlifter is represent your country in the Olympic Games and win a Commonwealth gold. And that's as good as it gets as a British weightlifter. So from an early stage, I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And it felt real because I was being told by an Olympian.
So when I think Olympians, I don't know, maybe my perception of it's a little bit different now because I've had Nick Symmonds on the podcast. I've had Dan Wallace on the podcast. They're the two Olympians. Guy Learmonth competed at the Commonwealth Games in the 800. All very, very high-performing athletes, but all very human. And I think when you're a teenager, I think generally speaking, up until recently with the rise of social media, Olympians have been put on such a big pedestal that unless you had a coach in front of you that actually made it, you might not have been able to believe that these people on the stage at the Olympics were actually human beings that you could become. Because it's such a pinnacle of sport, isn't it, that it can become inconceivable unless something makes it a reality for you, which it sounds like you had with your coach. So I know you were very excited about when the 2012 bid was won. You were in a classroom and there was I think you saw, there were celebrities you saw jumping up and down when that was announced. And that's when I can imagine the dream and the roadmap towards Rio was really paved. So qualification, talk us through what you had to do to get to Rio.
Yeah, qualification for the Olympics is probably one of the most challenging things as an Olympic weightlifter. It's not like in many other sports where a country would be allocated so many spots and then you'd fight it out for that spot. We had to work as a team prior to 2016 to gain one male spot for the British men's team. And then it became a showdown essentially at the British Championships that year as to who was going to take that spot. And it was quite evident on that given day who it was between. There's about four of us that were very close, and it was just best man on the day wins. So it made for probably one of the most exciting weightlifting competitions that I've ever been a part of. And to be honest, that day of competing was far more exciting than the actual day of the Olympics, other than the prestige of competing at the Olympics.
How did you deal with the pressure of that British Championships? Because it sounds like the stakes were about as high as they possibly could have been and arguably ever were. And it's difficult to expose yourself to that sort of pressure until you're actually in the pressure itself.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it comes back to a little bit what we were talking about a moment ago, in the sense that for me, leading into that competition, I ensured that I left no stone unturned. So for me, what that meant was making sure that I was doing everything, not only in my training, but outside of my training, from a recovery, from a nutrition standpoint, and from a preparation standpoint, so that on that given day, I could stand there and know whatever happened, I was ready for it, and I could just do my best and the rest will be. And that's something that I think is super valuable in any sporting effort, if you like, or competition environment. If you can stand there and truly feel like you've done everything to be in that shape, there is no pressure, you know. You can go out there and enjoy your performance and let the rest be.